How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I've got it's a fairly simple mission, but there's a bit of a way to travel to get it done, or well, I should say a contract. Yeah, it's in the middle bunch contracts. It's called Let There Be Light, where you've got to get a generator from like the top left of the map and take it just north of the garage, really. The main reason I want to get it done is because I want to do the 30 harvestless years to get towards unlocking the K7M. But you need trailers to do the farming mission, and you can bring trailers from the Crossroads map, but just, yeah, I kind of figured I'd rather unlock the trailer stall, since there's one on this map to be unlocked. So yeah, set off from the garage. I could cut up that road and make it a bit easier, but to be honest, I wanted to go and try something out with the water. The old Loaf's got experiments to test. Yeah, and then cut across the top of the map, and like I said, right in the top left corner of the map, there's yeah, the generator. And for this one, I fancied cracking out the P16. There's certainly trucks that would get this done more swiftly, but I don't know, I was flicking through the vehicles, I was kind of umming and ahhing, thinking about maybe the Derry, whatever they like the one with rear steer and all that, the 8 or 4 axles, 8 wheels. And as I was flicking through, to be honest, first of all, I barely seemed to own any. I didn't quite get to the bottom of the list, because then that's when I was scrolling through all my trucks. I scrolled past like 5 or 6 P16s as I was going down, and then, yeah, I was like, sod it actually, this will be quite a nice vehicle to sort of take out. Just, I was curious myself to see, because this thing hasn't got all-wheel drive, and these maps are kind of a combination really. In some respects they're a piece of piss and you can drive along them there no problem, but then yeah, there's certain patches where the mud gets pretty extreme for what it looks like and all the rest of it, so yeah, I just wanted to see what how this thing would handle really. And then of course, got a goddamn horse for me. Never leave home without him. Not just any old horse either. It's OG Loaf. He's the one that started it all. Started saving everything on White Valley, and then he's just never stopped. Still got his 100% rescue record. Flipped every vehicle in the game. Yeah, get yourself a Loaf. That's one thing we've already learnt. So you see bits like this cruising along, it's pretty easy. This is basically, coming up on my left is where I've got to eventually bring it back to. And overall, I thought this mission would get done a little bit quicker, but that being said, I was kind of dicking around a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I could have took a dolphin, for example, and just put the Loaf in the sideboard. And with the high range gear and all the rest of it would have got done pretty quick. Plus, I'm going the long way round this way at the minute because I wanted to cross the river. There is like the road I could have just cut across, but yeah, there's just things. Well, I like crossing the rivers anyway. I kind of like crossing where you just pick a spot and attempt to cross it rather than just a pure road going across. Obviously the situations, if I had a big fat trailer full of cargo and all the rest of it, then yeah, I'll be going straight to the road that it offers me. See, like this section of mud along here, it just looks kind of like a dirt road, but this is a bit of a severe like patch of mud really. Not only does it like very boggy and slows you down quite a lot, but if you drive along the road in the ruts, it yeah, you sink in quite a lot as well. Hence why while I'm at it, there's a bit of room, I was like, sod it, I'll just drive along the edge of the road. And that's the thing with the P16. One thing I've always liked about it is it's got plenty of weight to it, so it sort of, to me, behaves, I don't know if I can say realistically because I've never driven one, but a lot of vehicles in this game are quite light and they act lighter than I imagine they would be in real life. This thing, whether or not it feels lighter than it does in real life, it feels like it's got enough heft there, and yeah, it kind of creates its own grip because it's heavy enough to plant itself into the ground enough. But then obviously not having all-wheel drive can make a bit of a difference, and because the rear axles are like, the wheels are nice and fat and chunky and all the rest of it, but it's not got like really flexible suspension and all that, and the wheels are pretty big and flat, so it's kind of like as you're going over bumps, as soon as it cocks even one side of the rear axle up, on these, even on the side of the axle that's still touching the ground, you're not really touching the ground with like the flat tread part of the tyre, you're kind of like right on the edge of it, which then you suddenly notice your grip and everything, the power you can put down, drops quite dramatically. But again, because this thing's a pretty weighty beast, if you just give it a second to sort of settle down and all the rest of it, generally speaking, it'll kind of, yeah, smash itself back into the ground and find a way to keep going. So I wanted to come to the river, yeah, cross on this section. I was just kind of curious because the P16 is one of the taller trucks in the game. And yeah, I mean, just an excuse to go messing around with the Loaf, to be honest. I can't really palm it off as too much more than that. Long story short there, I was going in and yeah, it wasn't as deep as I wanted. That's what she said. I was getting to the point where I could pretty much cross without making like the snorkel go under or anything. So I wanted to do a bit of zombie winching, see if that's still a thing, just making sure that like, they haven't patched it out or anything. So yeah, you can see there the snorkel's just got to the point where it's starting to take some damage. Stop the engine, jump in the goddamn horse, stick a zombie winch on. It's driving me mad with that menu that it keeps bringing up. And I know what's going to happen. In a week or whatever, they're going to patch it, and by then, me for one is going to have like muscle memory of just cancelling that bloody menu every time. And at the minute, I haven't got the muscle memory of cancelling it. I just keep going to hit the winch, and it's like, oh, son of a bitch, keep showing me my truck's damage or whatever. Yeah, well there you go. I mean, it's just another example of that. As I said, I wanted to test that it's still working in that, but yeah, you can still zombie winch. So if I drove through at that depth with the P16, I probably would have got to the other side without like the engine completely dying, but I probably would have took 50, 100 damage on the engine just while the snorkel was going under. Nice thing is the Loaf does just kind of hang on. He just sort of sits in that V, which I mean, living the dream. Yeah, so sometimes you don't really need the winch, but I've tend to find out through trial and error, if you stick the winch on like the, well, say the middle of the P16 and the middle of the Loaf, kind of pull him down so he's nice and wedged on there. The good thing is the back end of him just sits on like this saddle high thing. You can also just put the Loaf on the saddle high, and on this P16 the saddle sits high enough to where it's just sort of perfect. The Loaf just kind of sits on there like its own little podium. But for whatever reason, I like hooking it over the back of the P16 like this. But I also had in mind that I wanted to cross that river, so the idea was to have the Loaf kind of sat high enough to where its snorkel is higher up than the P16 snorkel. Don't know what was going on there. I mean, it might just be a bit of bumpy ground, but I might have sort of got caught on one of them bushes, and I don't know, it sort of felt like my truck lifted up for a second or so. It felt a bit weird when I was driving it. And again there a little bit. I think there is a couple of bits on this map where, well, I said, I think it was yesterday with the exploration video, that the dead trees and that are lying around, I don't mind them, but they're too, like, they catch too much. It's not really a case of like, has your truck got enough power or whatever to climb over it. The hitboxes are pretty terrible on them. They keep hooking on everything to where it's just to the point that it's not really the strength of the vehicle. It's like the Hummers I've got that are stuck in the cliffs on White Valley. There's just no amount of strength like pulling them out. They're just glitched into the map at that point. And yeah, that's what I sort of feel like. Just various bits of the map. I've been running over trees. You hook on them quite a lot, even trees that you knock over. Yeah, some of those little bushes are the worst offenders though, because they are literally like a little bush, and if you stick a winch to them, they pop out the ground without pretty much any resistance, except the goddamn horse. He does make use of them because he's a professional. But yeah, it's kind of offensive that you get stuck on a stupid little bush like a big fat monster truck. I probably should have got some fuel there, to be fair, but things were going pretty well up to now. And at this point we're back to just cruising, bit of road driving, which we'll be grateful for in a minute. Still think as well though, when I was driving along with this, it just anything with the advanced special really does feel like it just needs an extra gear these days. I don't know if it's because I was gonna say because I've been driving, say when I do the live streams doing the mod vehicles, but for the most part, anything that has an advanced special gearbox, I'm going to put that in it anyway, because that's my favourite out of like that category of gearboxes. But yeah, they just need a little bit more pace to them, I reckon. It's not the end of the world though, at least with the P16 it's got pretty big tyres, so for each revolution of the wheels you do actually travel a bit. It'd be cool though if they did add all-wheel drive to this P16 as well. It's still pretty decent. Well, it's one of my favourite vehicles. It always has been, and I'd say it still is. It's certainly still in the top 10 for me. Even though it might scrape top 10 of like the actual best vehicles in the game. Well, I don't know. Probably, again, it'd be close. But just, yeah, it's not objectively like an absolute beast. If it had all-wheel drive though, it'd be an interesting one. See, again with these bridges, you just... yeah, there's not enough wood. Don't even need to say it, but yeah, you end up getting your tyres like dropping down more than them helping. To be fair, looking at it, you could just literally drive around either side of it. It's kind of like the most random bridge going. There's just one rock in the middle of nowhere and they built a bridge over it. Can't work out if that's lazy or not. Would it be lazier to just build the road around it, or rip the rock out, or just put a bridge? So we're getting back into the boggy stuff now, and you can see as well there's a lot of these routes that I've noticed. I don't really think there was that many on the Crossroads map, but yeah, this one. You just sort of venture down some of these little lanes, and the routes are an absolute nightmare. Ever since they introduced them, it's got to be a good year ago now that they added them, possibly even more. I remember doing the review videos, and I know exactly where the bloody thing is. It's on Northport as I cross over from the main road to where the fuel station is there, where I've kind of abandoned about bloody 60, 70 trailers by now. Yeah, there's a route in there that just appeared and it started messing up, like crossing that little section of mud. It's a complete killer, and there's quite a lot of them on this map. And again with the routes, it's more that they're glitchy. It's not. I don't mind them slowing me down, you got to drive over them, but yeah, I don't like how much stuff just keeps hooking into like the hitbox of your truck. I couldn't remember this bit at first because I've done this mission when I was doing the live stream. Yeah, it was when I got here that I remember, like with a little log path that's set out. I have been here before. Which they do help, to be honest. It's the first time I've actually appreciated these little log paths. It might be quicker though just to rally across the countryside. I think that's what I did on the way when I got the trailer. I believe I drove this way out on the live stream, but yeah, the cross country option is a good one. It was a little edit there. I was just moving the Loaf back over to the middle. One thing I do like when the Loaf's sat like that is you can steer the steering left or right and he just jumps over left or right. So if you want to recenter him, it's pretty easy. And then yeah, this is like the yard in the top left. If in doubt, hit the horn. Still the best horn in the game. Yeah, I think I smashed through the fence just to the right of me when I was doing it on the live stream. My remote's been doing the thing again where it's down on the D-pads dying on me. I will be intermittently hitting that horn throughout. It's too tempting with this truck. Couldn't quite make this corner. Well, I could have, but see, you just get hooked on everything. Nothing lets you drive over it anymore. I need to smooth off the hitboxes. I could appreciate it if it was like a much bigger pile of stuff, but it was probably not even like a quarter of the height of my wheels. So yeah, I'm going to kind of rally across the fields just because that road I was driving along was a bit slow, and then cut across the other kind of pathway across the river. I don't know, or I didn't know, I do now, but I didn't know at the time if it was better or worse. Even looking on the map it kind of looked a bit worse, but I don't even think in the live stream I'd travelled over that section, so I just wanted to see what it's like. I had a feeling, I was like, am I going to regret it in the P16, because it just looked a bit iffy, like there was quite a lot of rocks around, the path looked a little bit narrower. And yeah, it's places like that where potentially not having all-wheel drive can make you suffer a little bit. When I was sitting here early, I was just on the game doing some getting the footage and that, and about 1:30 in the morning I heard a bloody chainsaw engine start up and start revving, and I was like, what the fuck? It's never a good thing when you hear a chainsaw going up 1:30. Like, his leather face gonna be kicking me fucking door down in a minute. It ended up being the railway. They were trimming the hedges. They seemed to feel that 1:30 in the morning is the best time to do that. Which, to be fair, doesn't really bother me because I'm up at that time. But yeah, when I first heard it, it's just one of them things like, okay, you're not normally supposed to hear a chainsaw engine. I was thinking either, yeah, Ed Gein is about to kick my door down, or there's a shop near me that has been robbed before. I thought someone got like a still saw and they're trying to cut the front door of that place off. Yeah, much better just cutting across these fields. This one looks like another farming mission. Depending on how many farming missions I'm doing, I might end up editing a bit of the footage out instead of just doing like the whole tractor drive. But strictly speaking, I don't dislike the farming up to now. Like, it's... yeah, I don't really find it any worse or better than like some other mission. It's sort of driving up and down a field, but... yeah, in certain situations, going down a seriously boggy road is just squeezing the throttle and doing a similar thing, really. But like I said, I don't want to farm a mission like every mission. I don't mind if there's a field or two per map, and you might have to do it a couple of times. It's pretty cool that you can repeat the missions as well. Good old suspension test there. But you see, again, this truck is heavy enough to where it actually stays planted in the ground. It's bumping over them, but a lot of other trucks have sort of be jumping up in the air and trying to pop a wheelie over that stuff. Finally got myself some sunflowers to run over. Although this vehicle's too tall, you can't enjoy it like you can in the Loaf. They were horns for science. I was breaking fences. Just a quick edit there, because I was changing it to daytime. I hate it how quick it goes dark. And yeah, by now, I was wanting to drop the hammer a little bit and I didn't want the video to go on too long, so I could already eyeball these roads. I was like, yep, I know what that's going to do. It's going to be them big fat deep ruts that make you go 1 mile an hour. Loaf ain't got time for that. I could also see my fuel's getting a bit lower now, again, when I passed that fuel station earlier. I had like 4/5 of my fuel probably, so I was like, nah, I'll be alright. I don't know why as well, normally I'd just start hitting it out of autopilot mode, but I didn't. So this section is what I could see on the map when I was looking, and I was thinking, yeah, is this going to be more awkward? Just got to scoot the Loaf back over. At this point though, if the Loaf fell off or whatever, I wouldn't mind, I'll just tow it behind me. I only wanted to keep him like at that angle and everything for when I was crossing that river, doing a bit of zombie winching. And yeah, now bumped on some of the rocks, but you see there, just instantly get caught, and basically you can see underneath my rear tyres, but then heading a bit towards the front as well. There's a load of roots everywhere, and I've just completely got hooked on them. I can't really reverse or go forward at this point. And I don't doubt that all-wheel drive would clearly help now, but I don't think all-wheel drive would get me out of there. So, yeah, as usual, time to whip out the goddamn professional, get the job done. He's away. But you can tell now it's a pretty good example, because he knows how to dig a Loaf hole. I've stuck a winch to it. When the Loaf starts wheeling like this, and you're wedged in a Loaf hole, it's something stuck, because it can pretty much flip anything and move anything when you're at that point. So I figured out I'm not gonna be able to pull it forwards. So plan B. Loaf's always got a plan B. Got plan alphabet. Yeah, I was like, I'll just wedge behind this tree. The winch point's driving me mad still. Yeah, and just kind of pull it sideways, see if I can unhook from this bloody root. Which is giving me a bit of jip, but yeah, you could kind of see that as soon as it didn't just smoothly pull it over. It's like I'm wedged on a root, and then when it finally let go, I just sort of sprang to the side a bit, and we're away. So once the root wasn't the problem, like the only having power to the rear axles didn't really make any difference. The P16 climbed straight out there. It was this section on the map I was actually most worried about when I was looking at it, but it turned out to be alright. Some trailer there tipped over. I assume that'll be a future contract or mission. Yeah, it's these, because you can see the rocks either side. I was like, is it going to be one of the, if the rocks were quite tall, the P16 is a bit of a wide boy, so there's yeah, once you get those rear wheels caught, but thankfully the rocks are pretty flat, so you can just kind of drive over them anyway. The old fuel's getting a bit low though. And yeah, that bit back there where I got caught on the roots and stuff, out of the two river crossings that are the proper ones, I'd definitely say the other one is easier. Which is cool, because that kind of works out as the main one anyway. I'd say the only reason I kind of took this one is just so I don't double back on myself as much. I kind of like to do a lap of the map or something, particularly when I'm doing a video. But yeah, you could cross in that, but if I had a ramped flatbed or anything like that carrying cargo, I wouldn't want to come across this section. It does look nice though. I think I changed it to the daytime back there. I might end up making that the thumbnail. And I think about now, I just wanted to get to the other side of the river. I knew it was going to be happening any minute, but yeah, I think the fuel starts kicking in and makes me wheels stutter. Which, I mean, strictly speaking, how much fuel have I got? Is it 6 or 7 litres left? Surely that, like, a vehicle would keep running on that much. I know what the game's trying to do, but still, can it not do it at like 2 litres? But just one of many reasons, get yourself a loaf. Packing major rack. And he saves me bacon again. OG loaf for the win. Alright, skip them roads again if I can. That's the thing though, this P16 is a bit of a fat beast, so just to drive along next to the road you need like a big fat road width worth of room, whereas like say the Loaf, you'll zip in and out of them trees all day long. Quite let me get up the gears like it normally does. And the high gear is not terrible, but it's not one of the most forgiving high gears in this. It does throw in the towel when you go too slow. There was a section of road earlier, it was like before I started doing the footage for this, I just got the P16 out and went for a little drive. And I'm trying to think where it was. I think it was just north of where I've got to drop this trailer off. And I hit a patch of mud like going along a road like this. And my entire front wheel sank in like to the point the whole entire wheel was gone. And these are not small wheels either. And again, it looked like a pretty innocent road, but I didn't quite roll the P16, but it was not too far off. And yeah, just when I was looking at it, I was like, Jesus Christ. Normally you see, like, you might think half to 3/4 of a wheel, but the whole thing was gone. It just fell in like some phantom hole that was in the map. See, now's when an extra gear, just like a top end 6th gear would be quite nice. We're not too far off now, we're on the home straight. So I mean, it just doesn't quite look quick enough. And then when you get to this point, you drive into the mission square and it won't automatically just take the trailer off you. You've got to fill it up with at least 150 litres of fuel, which at some point I'll show you. It's kind of above where the handbrake thing is on the right hand side of the map. It'll come up, but it's in very small writing. Is it there now? Yeah, it says you should have 150 litres or something in it. Someone mentioned it the other day on the live stream and I was like, where the hell does it say that? But yeah, I spotted it this time. But it's not very clear with it. It doesn't say it in the mission title, the contract description or anything like that. You just, once you get it here, it says it in tiny little writing. So I'll transfer some of the fuel over from the P16 to the generator, but it was not enough. Switch to the horse, which would have or should have had 80 litres in it, which would have been enough then to get me over the edge, but because I had to get the Loaf out to rescue the P16. I'd burnt a bit of fuel, so I was like, right, I'll transfer a bit back to the Loaf. Looked around, I was like, oh my god, what a goddamn horse, just chilling on the other side of the fence. I was going to go and rob some fuel off that Paystar. I was like, yes, Loaf, send me the goods. Send that fuel over. Take past the parcel and we're done. And again as well, if I'd filled up at that fuel station on the way, I also would have ended up having enough fuel, but plenty of goddamn horses scattered around, enough to save the day. And yeah, it's another one in the bag. Now I can finally do that 30 harvestless years mission and go and get my own trailers. So yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you've enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreon members. Get yourself a Loaf because he's a goddamn beast, and I'll be back soon.